Yes, welcome to Spredict Live. Great to have you here and joining us today. My name is Fred Endy. I'm one of the founders of Spredict. We are the premier consumer crypto prediction platform. In short, we are a predictive gaming ecosystem designed to give you the opportunity to engage in predictive gaming in ways that might be different from what you experience and expect in in your work in predictive gaming. And so today we're going to take a look at our Spredict platform, and we're also going to dive into making picks for this evening's UFC 318. Going to be a good series of fights ahead, and will be awesome to take a look at a couple fights from the card, use this Spredict app to make our predictions, and then see how we do. Last week I was 3 for 4, so was not expecting the outcome that we had for our main event. In fact, I was incredibly excited um, about how the main card started off, and then was very surprised that Lewis won that fight in seconds, right? And so that's the fun thing about MMA. You never know how things are going to go, even when the odds seem to be in your favor. Right. So, why Spredict? Why utilize the app and ecosystem that we're building out? Well, Spredict allows you to do three things that you can't do well on other platforms. First, we're designed to be a subscription service as opposed to any type of betting experience. The idea is that you subscribe to our Spredict Pass, which provides you with access to all the games in a given sport or non-sport category, which you play for the time period you've subscribed. And during that time period in which you've subscribed, you're also competing against other players for prizes. Now, there will always be a free to play side to our DApp as well. There is no need to engage in predictive gaming with money if that's not your style, right? And so players who want to just have the experience of engaging in predicting outcomes can do so at no cost. That said, for those who want to win prizes, they'll be able to subscribe with this Predict Pass for as many of the different gaming categories as they like, and engage in, hopefully, winning some prizes. The second piece that's a little bit different for us is our games are all created differently than what's out there. We do have, in some cases, kind of standard pick'em structures, right? Where, as you'll see in a moment, you'd pick either fighter A or fighter B. However, even those structures become more innovative through the inclusion of special features that we build into each game. For instance, you'll see momentarily that for our MMA fighter pick'em style game, we've added in something we call the favorite feature, which I'll explain to you as we make our picks. And then the third reason why we're different is we're structured to build out custom predictive gaming pools for lounges, projects, families, friends gatherings. And so if, for instance, you are an MMA fan, and I'm assuming you are if you are watching and or listening, we can create a specialized of UFC or MMA pools for you using the structure we've created, but only open and accessible to those who you want to take part, which means you can create some really amazing experiences for the people in your community in whatever fashion makes sense to you. So that's the Spredict ethos. That's our reason for being. That's what sets us apart. and makes us different and supports utilization of Spredict as your predictive gaming platform of choice. So why don't we take a look at the app and get started making some selections. By the way, if you want to take part and make your predictions as we are chatting, you can do so going to the link below, dap.spredict.io. And that will allow you to see what I'm going to be putting on screen and take part in making some picks this morning or afternoon, wherever you are. So the first thing I'm going to do is share my screen. Let me do that. Let's pull up our DAP window. I think I just have to shift it out of here. Here we go. All right. And let's see if that will allow me to pull it up and share with all of you. Window. Perfect. So what you now is our Spredict app. Again, dap.spredict.io. Even before we connect our wallets, I'd like to point out a few different elements. First, top left, you're in the play side of our DApp. You'll eventually be able to go into the DeFi side where you'll be able to access various different elements of our ecosystem, from rewards to staking elements as we grow. On the right-hand side, you'll see a button for getting started, which will allow you to bring up some basic instructions on taking part in using our DApp. To connect your wallet, you have a number of different options. I'm going to connect through Abstract Global Wallet. Our DApp is hosted on the Abstract testnet for the time being, so I'm going to connect there. And you'll see through that connection that my global wallet is now connected. On the right-hand side, you'll see live odds, right? This shows what the picks look like so far for each of the 4 fights that are built into our UFC 318 pool. Below that are socials. Then on the left-hand side, you'll see our game categories. You are currently in the MMA side of our ecosystem. We have 2 games, right, that are going to be within that side of our ecosystem. Face Off, which is basically pick the fighter to win. Tap Out, a game we're working on that will allow you to make predictions on the finish style for given fights. Below that is a link to our Formula 1 element of our DApp, which is being worked on. Also below that, the crypto side, for those who are non-sports enthusiasts, right? You'll be able to make predictions on a variety of crypto asset prices, changes, etc. And then below that, you'll see the button for rewards. So if you are holding a Spredict Pass, you'll be able to claim those rewards via the rewards tab. And at the bottom of the DApp window on the left is where you'll go to purchase your Spredict Pass. In the middle is our main DApp screen where you'll be able to make your picks. There's an instructions tab that you can pull up to tell you how to play a given game. And then you've got 3 windows or tabs that you can select. Live event, which is where you make your picks. Past results, which when complete will show you how you've done in past picks. And then leaderboard for those who are participating in our Spredict Pass part of our ecosystem. You'll be able to see how you stack up on the way to win prizes. Now, I had shared briefly that there is an additional element we've added to our face-off game. As you look at the 4 fights on our card this week, you'll notice that for 2 of them, there's a little star. Those stars represent the added element we've built into face-off, which is called our favorite feature. Basically, the way it works is as users make their picks via our DApp, we pull on-chain data which tells us who the favorite is for a given match. That favorite gets starred. when you make your picks, if you select the favorite, right, and the favorite ends up winning, okay, in this case, Costa for our second pool, which we'll talk about shortly, um, you end up earning, let's say, 1 point. But let's say you went with Kopylov, um, and Kopylov ended up winning, right, as the underdog. You would earn 2 points. Right. So the idea is not only are you thinking about who you like to win, whether you want to go with the chalk, right, with the favorites, or whether you want to make a contrarian play, but there's also some strategic game theory thinking there in that if you pick an underdog, the underdog wins, you earn more points towards the leaderboard, therefore earning more points towards prizes. So that's the general structure of our DApp, right? Pretty easy to explain and work through. So let me put the link back up on screen again. Again, you can see it down there, dapp.spredict.io. I'll give you a second to get there, right? So you can join me in making our picks. And then we'll talk a little bit about the 4 fights on our card. I'll give you my predictions. And what I tend to do each week is throw a parlay up. I happen to use BetMGM as my site of choice, but I throw a parlay up, just putting a little money behind my picks. I am currently, let's see, last 2 weeks I was 3 for 4. Before that, I was 4 for 4 for 3 weeks, then 3 for 4 before that. So my last 2 months have been pretty strong from a pick selection standpoint. And so this week, as you'll see, I've got a couple underdogs thrown in the mix. So we'll see how I do when I put my picks in shortly, and then a little bit later this afternoon when I build out my parlay. So let's talk a little bit about our fights. This is a interesting UFC event. It's actually going to be in New Orleans, Louisiana, in the United States. And so there's the main event is really special because the BMF title is up for grabs, right? BMF, Bad Mother, right? It's Max Holloway who has held that title, right? True legend, up against Dustin Poirier, right? Who is also fighting his final fight. Okay. Poirier started his career, was born in Louisiana, right? And gets to end his career in Louisiana as well, right? And so Dustin's had an amazing career. This is a really fun fight with kind of like sentimental title implications and an amazing way for 2 excellent fighters to like tie up a UFC. So let's dive in. We'll actually start from the bottom of our card. These are all main card fights. And of course, there's a significant number of prelims and then early prelims as well throughout UFC 318. So first fight, we've got Dan Ige, right? Ige, against Patricio Pitbull, right? So Dan's 19-9, right? Patricio is 36-8. Both men have long MMA careers, right? Both featherweights. Dan has the advantage physically. 5 years younger, he's 38. Pitbull's, or rather, he's 33. Pitbull's 38. He's also got a longer reach. Their accuracy around significant strikes, takedowns, fairly similar. You don't see a lot. There was not significant difference in how much better either one of them was with connecting with punches or kicks or taking down opponents. Dan's won 2 of his last 5 fights. One of the wins came from a contested ref stoppage. That was a fight that ended was pummeling his opponent, who went down on one knee. Dan continued to hit him, and the ref just stopped the fight, which seemed very unnecessary. So that was a win that's somewhat hard to count. Dan looks decent in the ring, doesn't really, in my opinion, bring the intensity that you want to see from a really strong UFC fighter. He is likable. He in wins and losses, he is very connected with his opponents, right? So clearly, someone who seems like a um, a good person, right? So you feel like you can connect with him. he's he's a favorite at 220, which seems particularly high for me, with somebody who, in my opinion, is a middling fighter within the featherweight division. Now, Pitbull's story is kind of interesting, right? He entered UFC a couple months ago after an incredibly long, illustrious career in Bellator. He is one of the best Bellator fighters in history, right? So this is a fighter who has broken records, had an amazing Bellator career, and his first fight against Yair Rodriguez a couple months ago was an unfortunate loss when he entered UFC. Pitbull, in my opinion, is an incredibly strong and strategic fighter. It seemed like a uncalculated loss for Pitbull. Bellator, of course, different program than UFC. However, Pitbull's success in Bellator should really prime him well for success in UFC over these next few years, which will probably be the ending of his career, right? My sense is, because Pitbull is so strong, because he is such a strong fighter, because I believe his fight against Rodriguez was not, um, could have gone either way, right? It was a unanimous decision, I believe, but, um, you know, Pitbull still has to acclimate to some of the differences in UFC. That said, as much as I like Dan, I think that um, he's not as strong as Pitbull as a fighter. I do believe this is a win Pitbull will take, leading towards a solid end of career in UFC. And so I'm going to pull up the DAP. I'm going to get my pick in now. To select, right, you simply click on the fighter that you are interested in, right, to make that selection. You'll see that I clicked on Pitbull, and so my pick is now ready to be recorded. Again, if you're just joining, dap.spredict.io, and you'll get to make your picks along with me. Right, so let's go on to our like weekly Kevin Holland fight. I have to tell you, this guy fights, it feels like on a daily basis, right? 28-13, 0 for Kevin Holland, Daniel Rodriguez, 19-5. Both these fighters are from the US. Holland is heavily favored in this one at minus 475. Right? Holland takes this one from a physical perspective. He's 2 inches taller, right? 6 years younger. He's 32. Rodriguez is 38. 7 inches more of reach, 81 to 74. Both fighters have over 50% significant strike accuracy. Rodriguez a little bit stronger on the takedown side. So I have to take a moment for this. How many times? Guess how many times Kevin Holland has fought in 2025? Just in 2025. I'll wait. So this is going to be his fourth fight, not in a year, not in 2 years, in literally like 6 months. This man is on track for 6, 7, 8 fights just in 2025 alone. Do Do you understand how crazy that is? His last fight, about a month ago, right? So this man loves to fight. And as he shared before, he'll fight anyone, right? He doesn't care. He'll fight anybody because he loves it and he wants to make money, right? He had this great bit with a reporter earlier this year where he said, look, I'll fight you. You step in the ring, it's fine. This is what I do. Right? It's 3 wins, 2 losses. His biggest challenge, he struggles against top tier fighters. Now, Daniel Rodriguez is not a top tier fighter. In fact, his biggest opponent he faced, Machado Gary, floored him with a knockout in 2023. D-Rod is not a monthly fighter like Holland, right? He might fight twice a year. His last 5 fights saw him, he won his last 2 fights and lost the 3 before that. Both these guys can hit hard, but Rodriguez does not get in the ring on a weekly basis. Now, here's something that's interesting. Normally, with similar fighters, I go with fighters who show a little bit of an advantage in physical characteristics, right? That would be Holland in this case. Significantly longer reach, right? Younger. The thing is, and I do like Holland a lot, so I rarely pick against him. I do believe, though, that Daniel Rodriguez is a stronger fighter overall. I think he hits harder. I think that he can take more damage. And I think that he's more strategic when he's in the ring. This line feels very, very manufactured to me. It feels a little bit like a trap line, right? Holland fights all the time. He's always in the ring. People like him, right? He always is ready to take somebody on. But Rodriguez is, in my opinion, a very good fighter. Now, no way does that mean it's going to be an easy fight for Rodriguez. But I do believe that this line is not where it should be. And believe it or not, I'm going to go with a sizable underdog on this fight and pick Rodriguez to win. It's dicey. Again, because I shouldn't say never, but I rarely pick against Holland. But in this case, I like Rodriguez to pull out the win. So moving on, right? We've got a middleweight fight. Paulo Costa, 14-4 from Brazil, facing against Roman Kopylov, 14-3 from Russia. Very little difference between these two fighters. A little bit of a reach difference, but their punch and kick accuracy, right, is similar. Costa does have a significant takedown accuracy value of 75%, which is huge. Right now, Kopylov at 42 is still a great percentage, but 75%, right? He is very, very targeted in going for his ground game. Kopylov happens to be favored at 250 for this fight. Both of those fighters bring solid upside. I found Costa's career a little bit weird over these last 5 years. He's lost 4 of his last 5 fights in 2020. And before that, right, he was undefeated, right? He started his career 10-0 or 9-0. I think it might have been 9-0. He lost to Izzy Adesanya, who, of course, is a real Chad. The title fight left Costa titleless, shaken. He hasn't seemed to recover in his fighting prowess since then. He can hit hard. He can take significant damage, and he's built like a truck. Costa is a beast, honestly. Kopylov is very strategic. He he had this great fight against Fremd, where he basically kicked Fremd in the gut, saw how much it hurt him, and then followed up with some strategic hits to the liver, right, and to over all around the chest. The and it basically took him out. What I like about Kopylov is he's a fighter who recognizes the damage he does to his opponent. Some fighters will kick, punch with abandon, right? Trying to damage their opponent in any way possible. Kopylov appears to be smarter than that. And his fight against Fremd really surfaces that. Kopylov has four wins of his last five, looks good in the ring, except he doesn't have the toughness or build of Costa. He is not built like a truck. He is not able to take and sustain the same level of damage. Now, of course, a well-timed series of hits, even against a truck, is going to damage them, right? And so my thing, though, for this fight is I believe Kopylov is going to get away with some strategic shots and do some serious damage to Costa. I just think Costa is going to be able to take it better than Kopylov can dish it out. So I think we see some really great fighting from Kopylov in the start. Over time, the power, motivation, morale shift in the octagon goes to Costa, who really follows up and pummels Kopylov and takes a decision victory or a late fight knockout. So I'm going to take Paulo Costa. By the way, I'm recognizing that I'm picking like all underdogs in this on this card, right? Because I believe I have to go back and look what the odds were. Just want to see, right? Because yeah, Kopylov's favored at 250, right? So 3 of the fights are me taking underdogs, right? So our last fight is our main event. We've got Max versus Dustin. This will be the third time they faced each other, which is crazy when you think about it. Dustin has fought Max Holloway basically in 10% of his fights on some level, right? Holloway is 26-8, Dustin Poirier 30-9. Both are U.S. fighters. Really solid strike accuracy. Both have generally within a few inches of each other in reach. So it's a really well-targeted fight. Dustin does have Max by about 10 pounds in weight, which can make a difference, particularly in ground and pound situations. Holloway does have a stronger ground game, though. And this is really very close to a pick'em. Holloway is favored at 130, which to me is almost negligible. Holloway, title holder for 4 years, from 2016 to 2019. He's had some solid wins against Justin Gaethje, also against people like Calvin Cotter, but he hasn't been able to reclaim the divisional title. He does have the Bad Mother Effer title, though, right? And that has been an amazing title that's gone to those fighters who have significant crowd support and really are like living legends within the UFC program at this point, right? So the title holds a lot of value. Holloway took that title through a knockout of Gaethje back at UFC 300, I believe. So Dustin has had a really impressive career as well. He's never been a title holder as long as Holloway was, but he carries the impressive resume of having bested Conor McGregor 2 of 3 times. Now, of course, McGregor, a legend, right? And Dustin beat him solidly. 2 out of 3 times they fought at very different points in their career. He's had wins against Gaethje, beat Holloway the 2 previous times, right? So this is going to be a fun fight. Both fighters hit hard. They're really smart. They're great fighters for a main event. Um, Holloway's fighting to defend the title. Poirier is retiring after this fight, right? So there's a lot of history there, and he'll have the crowd behind him. I think this is going to be a fantastic battle. I'm picking Dustin. I'm putting my money on him to win a third time and retire with the BMF belt. So let me lock in my last pick. Holy cow. I have picked all underdogs for each of these fights. This is going to be a crazy parlay for me, right? So I've got all 4 picks. You'll notice that here, let me click off Dustin's box, right? You'll see nothing down here at the bottom. When I click it, you'll see a window that comes up, validate your prediction. So let me do that. All right, I approve. This should lock in my picks. I'm going to refresh to make sure that the picks have stuck. And they have. And there you go. So I am now locked in. My picks are recorded. And I am ready. Relax. Your prediction is validated. I am ready to lock in my parlay and see how well I do. So remember, friends, dap.spredict.io. No cost to make your predictions. Give our DAP a try. Explore how it works. Thank you for joining me on this Saturday morning for me. Hope all of your picks for UFC 318 go well. Hope mine do as well. 4 out of 4 underdogs is not something that I normally find myself getting behind, but let's go, right? Let's see what happens. So I wish you all an amazing weekend, great luck in your predictions, and an awesome time watching UFC 318. See you later.